Yeah, it was George Pickens. I think to Anthony's point, I'm not going to spend too much time on this because I think I'm a little hoarse in the throat after that last segment. And I know Anthony is probably a little more passionate about this one, but yeah, George Pickens has a monster schedule, guys. Monster schedule. Me and Anthony talked about this on Friday where we said there's a buy window. If he has a down game, like this could be the time to buy this guy. Look at his schedule going forward. I think 8 out of the next 10 teams are bottom like 22 against wide receivers in fantasy. So yeah, great showing for George Pickens. And if you held his bags, you're happy about the possibility going forward.
Yeah, I'm ecstatic about this because I was one of the guys on this show. I have George Pickens in best ball and high stat. I have a lot of George Pickens. I was banking on Russell Wilson being the quarterback because Russell Wilson, the touch pass, the deep ball, it all blends in what George Pickens does best, not so much Russell Wilson. So George Pickens, I feel like, suffered a little bit this year. Russell Wilson comes in last night. I did not expect what we expect. Like I had the anytime touchdown score bet. Did I expect George Pickens to go for 111 yards and a touchdown, 5 of 9 targets? No. But I'm really excited because Russell Wilson was just putting the ball up there. I think there was a pass interference or two that got called, a couple of contested passes. This is the talent of George Pickens that we are starting to see. And it was a banged up Jets secondary, but it was still a talented Jets secondary. And now if you look at the schedule that opens up the rest of the way, these are all smash spots up until the fantasy championship where you get KC. Every other matchup is bottom 16 or better. Outside of that, and they have the Giants, which is 15th next week. Smash spot. Washington off the bye. Washington, Baltimore, Cleveland, Cincy, they're 16th, but they're not as good as that 16. Cleveland again, Philly, Baltimore, and then KC. Like that schedule with Russell Wilson, George Pickens is going to be. I mean, I'll put a pizza. He's a league winner. If we get that version of Russ and Pickens, that is a league winner.
Yeah, I'm not making that bet because I'm right there with you. And I was going to say, I know this isn't a dramatic jump, but just looking at it, in weeks 1 through 6, Pickens had a 29% target share. Last night against the Jets, it went to 33. So is that a huge jump? No. But is it a jump? Yeah. And this is what I said. And then, Pete, if you're able to speak, because you're a little hoarse, buddy, because you were going off. But I had said when the season started, if Russell Wilson started, he would do just enough to not give up the job. Now, things started not how I expected. Wilson was hurt. Fields came in. He did well. He did okay, but not well enough to keep Wilson off the field. So Wilson's back on the field, and I think now he's going to continue to do just enough to keep the starting job. And if we like what we saw Sunday, which we all love it, I think George Pickens is going to skyrocket right now. I think if you wanted to trade for him, I think you missed the boat. I hope you have him. And if you do, God bless you.
When it comes to Russell Wilson, folks, I get, Justin Fields, maybe I always call him a highlight reel quarterback because he looks really good in the highlights. Russell Wilson put up 27.5 fantasy points. One game. Justin Fields had that 37-point game. Couple of nice games, but that was one game with Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson also, they gave it to him on a sneak. To me, that play was just because like everybody said, well, Justin Fields a little bit bigger. He's really good on the goal line. I feel like that was a little bit of an FU by Arthur Smith. To me, when you have Najee Harris, and you can give it to, Najee or little Russell Wilson when everybody's saying, well, Justin Fields, they're going to put him in on these goal line packages because he's so much better. No, Russell Wilson got it done. I think that was a little bit an FU by Russell Wilson and Arthur Smith.
Yeah.
My opinion.
No, I kind of am with Anthony there. I think Tomlin, look, I think at some point these guys get paid a lot of money to make these decisions, and all the people on Twitter who were shitting on the Steelers for making this decision. Look, I'm a Broncos fan. I'll be the first one to tell you that, I don't think Russell Wilson is that good of a quarterback, but if Mike Tomlin, who I trust a hell of a lot is sitting his quarterback in Justin Fields for Russell Wilson at 4-2. Maybe we should kind of see that as a sign that maybe there's things going on behind closed doors, that maybe the guy that gets paid a lot of money knows what he's doing.
Not for nothing. Last year, bad year, Russell Wilson, Denver, 3,000 yards, 26 touchdowns, 8 picks. Where's Justin Fields, 26 to 8 and 3,000? I can't find it.
Right.
Yeah.
And just because Joe was commenting, he said, I'm still afraid of Arthur Smith limiting Pickens snaps in certain game plans. Well, I'll put it this way. I'd mentioned the target share. In weeks 1 through 6, Pickens was out there for 72% of the snaps. Last night, 79. So, I mean, I get it. I get that. Arthur Smith is basically the boogeyman for all of us. He's the monster under our beds. But I do think Arthur Smith is at least smart enough to see what he has here. That might come back to bite me in the ass. But the snap percentage went higher. So I don't foresee it changing that dramatically, at least not lower than what we've been seeing from him. And it seems like Russell Wilson likes the connection. So I'm not worried about that particularly.
Najee back-to-back games, over 100 yards and a touchdown. I mean, this offense, they got pieces. And I get everybody hates Arthur Smith. I'll go back to when he had A.J. Brown, Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry. I mean, that Arthur Smith, there's a reason why he was a coveted OC and got a head coaching job.
Right.
Yep.
Sometimes these guys are just better coordinators, and maybe Arthur Smith needs that Russell Wilson type quarterback.
And Joe seems very passionate about this because he said Tomlin's words, Russell Wilson is an experiment. Okay, he's an experiment, but guess what? If the experiment keeps working, you keep using the experiment.
And then,
or if the experiment works just enough.
Well, I don't know how much you experiment in season up 4-2. You experiment when you're 2-4 record.
Right.
Like you're not experimenting. Like Tomlin could have said that, but I'd have to know what the context was and watch it. But I think to Joe's point, I think you definitely chasing some spike weeks with Pickens. I don't know how consistent he will be for fantasy. I'm really not sure. But again, I just think at the end of the day, the team looked like it had more juice with Russ on the field. Okay. And what I will say, I do worry that teams will figure Russ out a little bit. Because that's what it was for Denver at times. But I do think good days ahead for Pickens, and his schedule is too good for him to be ranked any lower than a mid to low wide receiver 2 at this point going forward.
The other thing I would say, and then Anthony, if you have something else, you can piggyback off it. But he mentions you're chasing spike weeks with Pickens. So if you try and trade for George Pickens now, and someone says, well, he just had this great week, you got to pay me X, Y, Z, then yes, you are chasing those weeks. But based on where you drafted him, are you really chasing the spike weeks? I mean, where was he being drafted? The low wide
Russ?
receiver 2?
Or
No.
Pickens,
Pickens.
4th, 5th round, man.
4th, 5th, 6th round.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I'm chasing spike weeks with him. I mean, could that be the case? I guess so, but I don't know. I don't think I'm.
I have PC teams matter
with no shame.
Or spike weeks.
No, I don't know. I don't fully buy into that. I mean, I get it. I get what he's saying. He does go on to say Fields was working as well, so he feels like Joe and Steve should hang out and talk about Justin Fields. But Joe, we do love you.
I mean, to be fair, Pickens, like in his 7 games this year, if you exclude last night, he's had it isn't all bad with Pickens though. I mean, we're talking spike weeks, but there was a floor. I mean, in 3 games he had 13.5 in PPR, 10.7, 18.3. Like he had a floor. He had some duds, but he's had a floor. He had 111, 113, 85 yards, 3 games this year. Like, and one of those was with Russ. The Jets were 4th against the wide receiver position. Like I know Jaden Reed was out, but he was doing it against Sauce Gardner a good amount of times. And, I think Sauce is overrated, but that's neither here nor there. But like, you shouldn't have to chase spike weeks with him because you should get a good floor with this schedule that he has as well. So, all right, let's move.